do you ref it a little differently depending on the stage and the magnitude? As I say, like, you know, if it's a title fight, you'll allow a few more shots before you call the fight, or are you like, no, a fight is a fight and you judge it one way and one way only?
It comes down to communication at the end of the day. Before anyone fights, if I was to referee a fighter, I'd go backstage and I'm to tell them if they're ever in a bad spot and the opportunity presents itself, they'll hear a call, and that call is fight back. As long as you're fighting back, as long as you're defending yourself, I'll let that fight continue. If you're just covering up, if you're showing me that you want to get out, if you're turning your back, for example, and I can see that there's been damage inflicted, I have every right to jump in there and stop that fight. And that goes for every fight, no matter what the fight is. Amateurs sometimes cannot take strikes as much as well as professionals. So you have to be a little bit more cautious as a referee when you're refereeing amateurs. But generally, that's a criteria. So as long as you're fighting back, as long as you're defending yourself, that fight's going to continue. And it doesn't matter if there's a second, 2 left on the clock. Our job is there for fighter safety. It's to protect the fighter. So if we see that you're in danger and you're hurt and you cannot continue, we'll stop that fight.
And when it comes to also point deductions, how do you, what is your take on that? Because sometimes, you know, like you'll see an eye poke and they'll get a warning, and the second time around, whoever it is might deduct a point. Where other fights you'll see maybe 2 or 3 warnings before. Like, what's your mentality on it? Like, when deducting a point or not? Because I also find a lot of the time that, as I say, there's no clear rule. Like, I sometimes think it would be better if it was like you get 1 warning, the next one's a point. But sometimes, as I say, like, because it is on the ref's discretion, what are you looking for when it comes to deducting points?
That's where refereeing MMA becomes a little bit more challenging. There are so many factors to be put in play. The severity of the foul. You know, how did the groin strike, for example? How hard was the strike? Was it intentional? Was it accidental? Did it just touch him with the toes? You know, did it hit him hard? Many factors go into play. Grabbing the cage. You know, I think I like to be pretty strict on grabbing the cage, and I've learnt that with experience. And it's all about communication. Like I said before, talking to the fighters before and telling them what you will and will not tolerate, and obviously listing the fouls and then going from there. It's a hard one. You have every situation is different, so there's no clear cut answer, unfortunately, Stinger.